So we're here with Haley from the Food Justice Alliance. Hello, Haley.
Hello.
If we can start, our first question is, what does food justice mean to you?
Okay, so food justice to me is accessible, local, healthy food that everybody in the community can access, and then that's healthy for the suppliers as well. So that means the farmers working so that they're not inhaling pesticides, and also that means to the environment. So not having to transport it very far, not ruining the land with lots of inputs when you're farming. So all along the supply chain, healthy and sustainable. So that's what food justice means to me.
All right, cool. So I understand that the Food Justice Alliance is a pretty new organization here at GW. So my next question is just what are some of the initial things, or what have you guys done so far that has engaged the local community here in DC? And what are some of your programs?
So the Food Justice Alliance, our goal is to advocate for food justice, obviously. But so what we do as an organization, we attend local events like Rooting DC, which is a yearly event that happens that brings in gardeners from all over DC to talk about gardening in the middle of the city, which is really fun. Yeah. And then the other thing we do is we provide most of the volunteers for the Grow Community Garden, which is on campus on 24th and H. Mm-hmm. So those two things are kind of separate but kind of together. So the food justice we do that's our main activity is the garden, although the garden isn't necessarily owned by the Food Justice Alliance. And the garden, yeah, it's part of the alliance. Mm-hmm. So the garden definitely is it's our way to show how you can have food justice in the middle of a city, because our garden, we don't have any inputs. It's right next to a sidewalk. It's as local as it can get because we donate all the food to Miriam's Kitchen, which is right around the corner. So that's actually really cool because we get to grow our food. The people who eat at Miriam's walk by our garden. Sometimes they help us garden there. Especially this summer, people would stop by and help us. And then we bring the food to them. We have a great relationship with the chefs there. We did a program with them this summer in the garden. So it's really a community feel, which is good, which is what food justice is all about.
Yeah. In doing some of these activities, both the farming and some of the more advocacy-related actions, what are some of the difficulties you've noticed in terms of food justice in this area?
Okay, well, in this area, or in DC in general, it's really hard for people to recognize that you can have locally grown organic food that's good for you that is also affordable. Well, that's actually part of the problem with food justice is that it is hard to do that. But with our garden, we're growing this with our hands. It's in our yard. It's in the middle of the city. So that's kind of showing that people who don't have, they might not think that they can grow food because they don't have a yard, but they can grow it in a
community plot, for example.
Community plot, got pots on their windows. And so that's definitely a challenge. It's DC in general is the food deserts. There aren't grocery stores with produce in very accessible areas. And then the other problem with food justice, or our advocacy part, is that a lot of people will think that organic farming is not good because it doesn't produce as much food, but that's false. From June to August, we produced over 1,100 pounds of food in the garden alone, and that's 3,600 square feet, and that's not that much. Yeah. So that's an issue, is getting people to realize that it's good and that there maybe is something wrong with pesticides or GMOs, even if we don't necessarily know what they are. Maybe that's not a good thing since we're feeding people what we don't know.
Yeah, precautionary principle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Last question I guess we have for you is what's in season right now in the garden?
Okay, so right now in the garden we mostly have cover crop. So what we do during the winter is put down a bunch of seeds that it's a mix of, I think, peas, rye, barley, and so that gives a chance for the soil to get nutrients back during the winter. But we do leave things in the garden over the winter. So we have turnips, carrots, beets, kale. Kale will grow all year almost. And then they'll kind of grow just like a little bit for the next several months, and we'll probably pull them out in March. So we could pull them out at any time right now.
Cool.
So that's what we have there, which is good.
All right, awesome. That's Haley for the Food Justice Alliance.